Hello, this is Gwen. Today is Tuesday, August the 15th, 2017, and it's about 11:17 p.m. in the evening. I wanted to talk about the race relations right now in America, and this is prompted by the Charlottesville, Virginia incident with the KKK people marching and doing their thing. And I wanted to say mostly that I don't care about white people, and I don't care about the march. I think of that as a white person only battle. White people need to get their own people in check. We've done our part, so I don't want us. If it was up to me, I would never have us marching in anything at this time. I wouldn't have us marching for health care or any rights. It's time for other people to march. We've done our share. Black people have been getting beat down and pushed and all of that. And as far as I'm concerned, we have done more than enough. It is somebody else's turn to step up if they want these benefits, if they want whatever it is they want that we usually fight for and they get, then it's up to them. It's time for them to step up. Now, in the meanwhile, what I want us to do is to start building our own. And that's my main point on this is to not be um, swayed by the counter protest, but to continue to focus on building our own. And so that's what I think about that's my main point about the Virginia incident is that we should not be fooled, that we should not be swayed, we should not lose our resolve, but continue to focus on building and taking care of our own. And if white people want to change other white people and straighten them out and put them in check, that is fine, but that shouldn't be our battle anymore. Now, I want to talk. This second topic is white people do not think like us. What prompted this comment from me is my auntie called me from long distance, and she said she had a question, and she figured maybe I could help answer it. And she said her question was, "What are they protesting about? What right do they have that? What right do they want that they don't already have?" And by that time, I was rolling on the floor, cracking up because she was dismayed about why the hell are they marching? What do they want now? What are they wanting that they ain't already got? They control the country. They got, they got everything that they could possibly want. She went on for 15 minutes, and all I could do was gasp for breath. It was hysterical because she's trying to figure out what in the heck do they want now. Like what right do you not have that you haven't already got? You got more rights than all the rights in the whole country. She had me rolling. And then what I finally did when I tried to answer, I admitted I didn't know. I really don't know. But I did find, and this is my answer to her, that she shouldn't try to break her brain trying to figure out white people. You will break your brain trying to figure out them. And this is what I'm going to tell you. You're going to break your brain trying to figure out white people because simply they don't think like us. They do not think like us. And this is the story I'm going to tell you why, as an example. And I gave her my permission to use it as an example too. Okay, I'm in class in college, and I think I'm in my Jewish history related class or Arab Israeli conflict, one of those kind of classes. Anyway, I'm like in the front row, and one of the only black people in there because that's just not a topic most the black kids were taking, because it related to Jewish history. And I'm in the front row, and the teacher's talking about when the concentration camps were going on and the Jewish people were fleeing Europe, Australia, and Germany to get away from the concentration camps and the resulting death of the Holocaust. They got to America. They immigrated to America. They fled to America and was let in. And the Germans wanted them back. They wanted them extradited back and come back to Germany. And then and he was discussing the actions what the Germans were taking and being and willing to take to get them back. I mean, they were going to war to get the Jewish people back that fled. And I said, my question was, why do they want them back? They told them to go. They I couldn't understand why they would want them back when they made them go. And well, when they ran from them, they why did they want them back? I didn't understand that, because to me there were no threat. I mean, what could you possibly want them back for? It was no reason to want them back as far as I was concerned. I didn't understand. And the teacher, after he understood my question, he looked at me rather patiently and he said that he wanted them back. They wanted them back so they could kill them. I was dumbfounded. Huh? Because you're not a threat. I don't understand why you would want somebody back so you can kill them, to come all the way back overseas just so you can kill them and when they're no longer a threat to you. My auntie said the same thing I did. That was her exact same reaction. We had the same exact reaction. What? They're not a threat. What did you want them back? But the thing is, I was the only one that asked that question in the classroom. I was the only one that asked that question because I was the only one that didn't know. I didn't know that answer. I didn't understand that answer. That answer never occurred to me. But I was the only one that had to ask that question. The other people knew. The other people understood it already. The white people in the classroom understood why they wanted them back. The teacher asked, answered me patiently, but I could tell that he didn't understand why I would have even asked that question, because um, to everybody else it was obvious to them, but it wasn't obvious to me. I didn't understand it. So it took me a lot of listening and watching and learning from them to understand that they don't think the same way. Most people that I know that are black would have had the same response I did. They wouldn't have known why somebody would want you back just to kill you. We would have, and once you've left and became a non-threat to me and you have gone on, the battle is over. I'm done with you. You just stay over there and I'll stay over here and we'll be fine. That's our logic. That wasn't their logic. They wanted them back, all the way back from overseas so they could continue to kill them. Do you know what kind of mind has that kind of thinking? Most of the people that came to America that you see in America now that are white came during that war. These are the immigrants from the World War II immigrants. That was the biggest surge in white population in America, was in World War II. So, and plus these are Germanic tribes. White people, the Anglos, the Saxons, all of them, those are the Germanic tribes. And these are the descendants of the Germanic tribes. So thus they are still Germanic tribes. Just like we're descendants of the African nations, so are they the descendants of the Germanic people. These are a different kind of people that think differently. We won't ever have those kind of thoughts because we don't think that way. Not even close. Now, since we don't think that way, we do have to have the power to observe how they think and react accordingly, and understand how they think and understand that they think differently, and recognize that reality in front of you, but understand you don't think the same way. There are facial expressions I can't even make my face make with such hatred and vitriol, because it I, I don't have that depth of a level of the vitriol. I can hate. I can hate immensely. I can be angry. I can have rage. But it's targeted to somebody specific and it's got a real reason. They don't have to have a reason. They don't have to have a reason. The hate's already there. They're just trying to find a target. The guy that coined the phrase Holocaust, that's what he said, is ill will looking for a target. So you already got the ill will, you just haven't got nowhere to vent it. But if you look at them and watch them, they are venting and having a good time with the chaos. They even have a little video of some idiot saying he came out there in his little KKK clothes because he thought it would be fun. I know they did because I've seen them. You can look at them and tell that they are enjoying themselves, having a chaos, both sides, and they can easily flip, and they would be just as dedicated in either direction. And the right side is a kind side, but We're not dealing with those kind of people. That's not what they do. That's not how they think. Look at them and watch them and evaluate what they do, okay? Don't let this stuff fool you, because not a law has changed. If somebody got shot by the police tomorrow, we'll be still in the same boat. Nothing has changed. The prosecutors, judges, from the arresting or murdering officer all the way up to the prison warden, is all the fix is in, from the White House on down. Now, if we had equal protection under the law, I wouldn't be advocating separation as strongly as I am. But we don't have equal protection under the law, and so that's my classroom example for why people don't think like us. There are countless other examples, but that's one of the main ones that illustrates that point. Now, the ones that are protesting and counter protesting, the ones that are saying that the KKK and all these people are wrong and they're out there willing to fight to prove it, I commend them, and I'm happy that they are, but still, that's not quite good enough. It is not good enough. I know that you are three sentences away from exploding with a negative remark against black people. Really, if we say something mean to you and we don't act like we appreciate that sufficiently, you're about a sentence or two away from saying something mean to me. And you do, because I've been there and I've seen you. I just want you to understand why we don't trust you and praise you for that. Because I know that we already know where you are. You probably be the only one surprised at your own um, racism and such, or meanness. You'll be the only one surprised. But sufficiently provoked, you will be racist and mean, I suspect. Some people are really good people through and through, but not a lot. And right now, it's just too much trouble and too much confusion to weed through the bad ones, trying to find the one good one. And so, just done with it. Not even interested. So good, but if you are down there fighting, then do it for yourself and your people. Because if there is a race war, nobody's going to differentiate between the good whites and the bad whites. And I, if it is a race war, then I would love for them to not be a coward about it and try to hide from behind the law, because you're flouting the law. And since the law has turned into anarchy, then I hate to think of it that way, but we can't fix people who attack us. If they attack us, if they attack people, then it's, even a dog got a right to, defend themselves. And us worrying about not hurting the good white people versus the bad white people, all we're doing is making ourselves vulnerable for the bad white people to attack us. And that's weakening our resolve to even save ourselves. And we have to save ourselves and our families, because we've seen what happens to us when we aren't trying to protect our family. It's bad enough as it is, but bad white people are diabolical. Bad white people are diabolical. And so I'd rather us die out than to fool with bad white people and live. I really would. I'd rather us be dead than to fool with bad white people, because they're diabolical and then some. I'm not even sure if they're people in there. I suspect that something inside of them has got them and got them good. I think it might be their weakened mental state because of the drugs, and something that got in there and is eating them alive and turning them into puppets of something demonic. I'm not sure. I don't know. All I know is a reality in front of me. And all I know is that people are being very mean and very bad, and they're getting away with it because the law enforcement system is letting them get away with it. And so that's not equal protection under the law. So the bottom line is, black people are being treated differently, and brown people are being treated differently, and anybody else who gets in their way is being treated differently. They're not prosecuting their own, but they want to destroy everybody else's. And that's a problem. Now, I'm saying the next step here is for my black people, don't be fooled by the politicians and such that are denouncing racism. I'm like, where they been at? What they been, like, where they come from? Out the woodwork talking about denouncing racism when you've been embracing it for the last at least 8 years. You've been under the, as they call it, the alt right, but the alt right is just another. I mean, they might put on the alt right hat one day, but they got on the whatever hat the next day. The KKK, neo Nazis, and whatever, all those other names that they give themselves for the same institution. Excuse me. Now, these kind of people with this kind of thinking, this is something that's been consistent since they came out the caves and before. They this kind of thinking was as old as the Roman Empire. Who do you think they were throwing to the lions in the arenas to watch them get eaten by wild animals? Who do you think they were throwing to the animals in the Greeks and stuff in the Colosseums? They have gladiator fights. They have wild animals attacking people, and they all enjoy the blood and the spectacle. These are people who think like that, where they have built a coliseum to watch bloody, brutal violence in the Roman Empire. In the Roman Empire, that's what they did. They watched bloody, brutal violence. They watched people get torn apart. They watched people get, sorry about that noise, total evisceration, things flying, blood. Everything horrible that can be done to a person was done, and they enjoyed it. They paid money to go watch it, and it was right in front of them live. They turned that into an institution where it was socially encouraged and acceptable to do. This is a different kind of thinking. They found fun in that. They enjoyed that. Do you understand? These people aren't that far from that. If you look at some of the snuff films, I'm not sure they have them, or even the things where they're killing animals and things, that bloodlust hasn't gone nowhere. It just gets suppressed. But every once in a while, when it gets suppressed too deeply, it reverts. And I'm thinking that they have got an extreme bloodlust. They don't, it don't, it's not working, and they revert to it. So that's what I'm saying. Don't be fooled. Even though the politicians are coming out denouncing it today, they embolden them for the past 8 years or 12 years now, 10, 12 years. They embolden those people. So when your bad kids are really bad, you're showing up at the juvie center saying, where did they get all of this bad stuff from? When they've been bad steps, step by step. So don't show up now talking about them. And I'm hearing the Republican people who ran in the primary. They've been emboldening Donald Trump for the past 2 years, because early on they should have been implementing impeachment proceedings. In any other context, he would have been impeached the first month from some of the things he did. Anyway, they should not have even elected him because he didn't show his taxes. But they've been his enablers. His Republican right wing, the Republican base, the alt right base has been his enablers. And they have been calling him on the stuff that they have been his last best friends. These are Trump's enablers. And he in turn has enabled the alt right people who are doing these things in that march. What they don't know, and what they probably haven't figured out, is that even though they're protecting Trump about this collusion stuff, because he should have been long since impeached, but they won't call him on it because they just won't call him on the things that they normally would have called anybody else on. But they won't call him on that, so they're protecting him. But what they don't realize is that Russia started messing with our elections during the um, Republican primary. I don't have any proof, but human nature and figuring out logic, and you can figure out that that stuff started happening in the Republican primary. That collusion junk, well, not collusion. He didn't know about it in the Republican primary, but I do know that they were working. I do believe that they were working behind the scenes to skew the chatter toward Donald Trump versus any other candidate. I believe that. I believe that they were doing all kind of, the Russians were doing all kind of stuff behind the scenes to skew the Republican primary or skew the chatter to get Trump to win that primary. And I believe that they started early. That we're focusing on the presidential election, but I believe that stuff started happening in the primary election for the Republicans. And I think that all these people that are protecting him actually were the ones messed over by the Russians for him. Although I don't believe he had anything to do with it at that time. I don't think he would have said no if they had to ask him. I don't think they did ask him, but I do think they helped him get elected. I really do. I don't have no proof, but I do think that. So yeah, I do think that. So yeah, I do think that. We'll see. Only time will tell. Yeah, and so this that topic was don't be fooled, and that they always revert. Even though white people are might be leaning toward being more tolerant and nicer people, and the nice people are going to beat up the mean people and turn America into a more a talent tolerant America and a more fair America should they win and all of that. I'm going to say don't be fooled by it because they always revert. That's how we got to where we are now. When the civil rights movement, when they were having a change of heart and stopped being mean people and turned into nice people, it stayed nice. They stayed nice for a while, but they reverted back. And we were left out in the cold because we believed in the civil rights legislation and the bills that were passed and the things that were helpful to minorities, as they say. We believed it and we were left out in the cold. We had lost all our businesses. We had moved to different houses, different neighborhoods, and we lost things that were helpful to us because we got integrated. And so we had urban renewal, we had various things that made black people lose their businesses that they had and some of the housing that they had. It was blighted, urban renewal, gentrified, various things. These little stores that we had, the little dry cleaners, the little restaurants, the little theater, the little this, that, and the other. Yeah, the drugstore. And I remember them, and they're gone. They gone. They got plowed over. They didn't even have something to build, so they created a park and named it Temporary Park. And it stayed Temporary Park for about 5 years because they really didn't have nothing to build. They just tore down all that stuff. And we let them because we were wanting to be integrated. And we still climbing out of that. So don't be fooled and don't lose focus on getting ready to take care of your own and yourself. Now, your Oklahomas and your Rosewoods and your Florida and all these other black towns that were thriving when they had a chance to be alone, we've got to do something like that again, but it doesn't have to be a physical town. It could be a cyber town or it can be a little enclave within your own family. So, what you're going to be having to do is build your own and make your own business and things like that. Now, when you do have your little enclave, you got to have the thing that was missing from the last ones, and that was a militia. Anybody's got a right to protect themselves and their family. So if it's a bunch of people running, coming up and coming down a road with pitchforks, you got a right to get out there and fight for your family. Okay, so do that. Get prepared. I'm old now, but we got to be looking at 4 generations down. Everything we're doing today has got to be prepared to be 4 generations down. That is your great grandkids, great what no great grandkids. That's 4 generations down. And every generation that succeeds you, like your child needs to be thinking about four generations down, and just like your grandchild needs to be four generations down from there, because we can't think short term anymore. That's not going to work. So we got to start building legacies for the kids and teaching them things. Now, for black people, among the things we can do is understand that our strong skills was in our things that we did with our hands. We're scientists and all of that stuff, but we were also merchants and artists and guild artists. And that's what I would like to see. We were craftsmen. That is, we did iron work, we did woodwork, we did painting, sculpture, we built clay pots, we did things that were practical and for the house. Some of that work that Africans did that are right now to this day, and I'm thinking about stuff that was made in the 40s, is sells for thousands of dollars, thousands and thousands of dollars. You can start your own woodworking thing over here. You can start your own pottery. You can do all of that because that's what we did. We're going to be started. Our new economy will be based on merchant and craftsmanship, and it'll be a cottage industry and workhouse industry. Regular manufacturing is gone because it's not needed. Regular old manufacturing is actually a obsolete industry in America. But homemade things is going to be a, could be a new thriving industry easily if we do it, if we decide to do it. And our labor pool right now is our unemployed people that are right there trying to find something to do. So we need to get them, off, get them off Twitter and get them on a sewing machine or a woodworking, or get them into a trade school, or get them into a night art school, just to get them started so that they can start doing little things to supplement and eventually build their own business, supplement their income, and then grow until they have built a personal craft business. And you can do that. That's our strong suit, is our art and crafts that we've already been doing. That's we came over here. We're artists, craftsmen, farmers, seamstress. We already had those skills. The slaves that came over here had skills. They weren't just people, just arms and legs. They had skills. Everybody talks about the woodworking. I mean the wrought iron work in New Orleans, but we also the guy who laid out Washington D.C. was also a black male. And there are other things that the black people came over here and did. If you ever read the narratives of the slave owners, they would be bragging about the math skills of their slaves because they didn't have the math skill. But they can beat you up and take your math skills and use them accordingly. And that's how they worked and how they operated. So we can't lose focus on building our own. But we can't never, I don't, and that's my final thought is we can't ever be vulnerable again. We have gave them a chance. They have had more than a chance. And even if they turn themselves around, we still got to focus on doing what we need to do to keep ourselves whole, healthy, and in control, and focus on building our family and building our legacy for our kids to always have what they need. And I'm talking four generations down, and everybody succeeding me should talk about four generations down. We can't fall by the wayside. Can't let them fool us no more. Okay, so this is my final thoughts on that. That's it. It's that we can't be vulnerable again. So I've said what I have to say. Good luck, y'all, and thanks for listening to me.